Hello, everybody. I hope that you can hear me just fine. My name is Mary Hager, and my presentation is Fun Activities Using Technology to Develop and Conduct a Safety Fair. I'm very excited that you've decided to join me today with the webinar. I've done several webinars for AbleNet, and they are all archived on the AbleNet website. If you have questions, please type them into the question box and I will get to them as I can. I've worked with students with disabilities in the school system for many years and now volunteer with about 20 adults with disabilities in a learning center. Different diagnoses include autism, learning disabilities, and Down syndrome. Volunteers at the center, besides me as a retired occupational therapist, include a retired speech therapist, science teacher, and special education teacher. All are volunteers. We all work for free. We are all concerned with safety, and the science teacher came up with this idea for the fair that you're going to hear about today. We all thought that it would be a great idea. As you look and listen to the presentation, think about how you might be able to do part or all of the ideas in your setting. I like sharing information and hope that some of the ideas are helpful to you. So to get this project together, we wanted to come up with project goals. And the first thing we thought about was, how do we even put something like this together? Well, we wanted to plan an event. We all wanted the students to learn about safety, learn how to put a poster together, use technology, develop presentation skills, interact with the community, and get parents involved. And again, as we go through this, even though you might be thinking, well, we wouldn't be able to do a whole project like this, but hopefully as you listen, there'll be things that you'll be able to pick out of it that perhaps will be helpful to the people that you work with. So getting started, how did we even get this thing going? And the first was, of course, to explain the idea of a safety fair to the students. They were really excited about the idea of safety and were excited to be involved in it. One of the first things then we did was choosing topics. And I mentioned to you that our science teacher helped put different topics together, but I think as you listen to this, one thing that I'm proudest of and enjoy the most was that ideas for their safety ideas came from them. Also came from staff, of course, and from home, but so many came right from them, things that they were interested in. The next part, of course, was obtaining materials and supplies. And we decided to use those trifold poster boards that you've often seen through time in social fairs and science fairs, things like that. Trim, colored paper, scissors, glue, or glue sticks and tape. And again, having worked in the school system for so long, always thinking about things that are easy to use and that are almost indestructible. So I'd like to take a little bit of time because like I said, I'm so proud about the different topics that our students chose. Our students are age range from about age 25 through 50. And they have a whole variety of abilities. They also have a whole variety of interests. So you'll notice one of the top ones, food safety. One of our young ladies has a lot of big family gatherings, and she was really interested in how to keep her family safe with these different food gatherings. Tornado safety was an interest to one of our students because he's very interested in tornadoes and how to be safe from tornadoes. Video game safety. Probably a lot of the people that you work with and know are very interested in video games. But how can you be safe, or what are some things to consider? And that's what two of the students were interested in. Medication and drug safety. You know, a lot of the students that we work with have a lot of medications that they take, and they're very interested in even things like drug interaction. How do they remember to take the pills that they're supposed to take each day? Lawn safety or lawnmower safety. One of our students is in charge of mowing his lawn at home. And since that's one of his main jobs, he was very interested in how to be safe when he mows the lawn. Heat stress. We have a student that does a lot of work outside in the heat, and that topic really was important to him. How was he going to be safe as he works outside? Holiday safety. One of our young ladies loves every holiday imaginable, especially Christmas, and she was very interested in holiday lights and how does she keep her family safe. So even though, you know, they were interested in how they can keep themselves safe, they were pretty interested in how they could keep their family safe too. Fire safety. And of course, that's a really big thing, how to be safe during a fire or how to even prevent a fire. Another one, internet safety. One of our young ladies was very concerned because her family had been hacked. And so she really wanted to know how she could help with that. Shark safety. I think that has to be one of my favorite ones. I love all of the topics, but one of my favorite, because this young man loves everything to do about sharks, and he wanted to know how he could be safe when he goes into the water. Sports injuries. Two of our students are very involved in Special Olympics, and they were wanting to know, well, how could they be safe and what could they do even to prevent sports injuries? One of our young ladies, sunburn and tanning safety. Well, she wanted to know how she could be safe from sunburns. Halloween safety. One of our young people loves Halloween and wanted to know when Halloween comes around, how he can be safe, but then also how his family could be safe during Halloween. Driver safety. One of our students, he and his family were involved in a car accident. And of course, it was really on his mind, how could he and the family be more safe in driving the car? Swimming and boating. One of our young ladies loves everything possible to do with swimming and boating. And she really wanted to know, are there tips, are there suggestions where she could be more safe in the water? Kids safety. I was really excited to hear about one of our young ladies who does a lot of babysitting for her nieces and nephews. And it was really important for her to be able to keep her little nieces and nephews safe when she helps babysit them. So from all of this, I think you can see that we were really trying to key in to interests of our students. So looking at the initial board preparation and thinking about, well, is this going to help the students? How will this really help them in different skills that they need to be better at? And skills employed, of course, would be fine motor. The amount of things that you're going to have to do fine motor wise to be able to even put a board together. Organization. And again, many of our students, many of the clients that we work with don't really have the opportunity to organize and think about spatial orientation. So the idea of having boards that they were going to have to work with was really very interesting to us. Decision making. How often when we work with our clients and our students that we say it's important to make a choice in decision making. So again, looking at what this project could offer, gave us so many things to think about and so many things to concentrate on. And then, of course, one of my favorites is collaboration between students. And hopefully you'll be able to see more about that as the presentation goes along. So here we have two of the students that decided to do a poster together. And you can see their glue sticks and their scissors. And if you look at the board right now, of course, it looks like quite a hodgepodge of things. But if you could take away from this the idea that the two students are working together, and I think I mentioned that our students have a wide range of abilities. And so the fact that these two students could find a way to help each other and organize, plan, cut things out, I think gives you an idea of one of our goals. When I looked at this board again as I was going through the presentation, I thought, well, some of you might say, but we don't really have the space for a lot of large boards, but you wouldn't have to. You could do the same type of idea in a much smaller board. And in fact, at the end of our safety fair, our science teacher did just that. He put together some smaller versions for the students to be able to have and look at on a regular basis. This is the young person that really loves everything to do about sharks. And I don't know if you can see very clearly, but in the foreground there is a picture of a shark. And his family had the best time with him looking at pictures and information on sharks for his safety board. Here you've got an adult working with one of our students, and this is the young lady that I mentioned to you, was very interested in boating and swimming safety. And so here she's had to use fine motor and organization to put the trim around. And she needed a little bit of help with organizing. So, but the choice making was always there. So for instance, where would you like these pictures to go? Can you help me cut them out? How about this picture going here, that picture going there? And her family also was excited about this project. And she and the mom worked out some of these pictures at home that she proudly brought in to the center with her so she could work on her board. Technology, I'm sure, is a big idea with people that you work with, and it certainly is with ours. And technology skills to gather information. So when you're thinking about technology and gathering things, you're going to have to search topic, and you're going to be using computers. And in this particular idea, we used a couple assistive devices that you'll see a little bit later. You'll see a group session, and we say researching, but looking up subject with Chromebooks. And Chromebooks just, is a particular type of laptop that we were able to use. We were able to get a grant to purchase several Chromebooks for our students. And that was a really big help. So we were anxious to be able to use those Chromebooks as soon as possible. Typing and printing pictures, titles and lists to put on poster boards. So if you think about when you're doing a presentation, for instance, you're going to have to use typing skills, and you'll have to learn skills maybe that you haven't learned before. Even being able to print a picture, that's a whole different skill. Being able to perhaps type a title. And it was a good challenge for us too, as people working with them, is about how do we help them? How do we give them some guidance so that they'll be able to do as much as possible? So it was a great challenge for us too. Here you have one of the students that is very good on the computer, and she was really nice about helping one of the other students. We talked, and you'll hear me talk about collaboration with students quite a bit, but one of the joys, I guess you would say, is that the student behind her felt so comfortable being able to say, can you help me with this topic? Can you help me find something on the computer? And she was able to feel really great about being able to help someone else. Isn't that wonderful when we've got students that we work with disabilities, that they can be the helpers? In here, we have the young student again, who I mentioned just loves to help. And she has two other students that wanted to know, how can they find something on a computer? What do they have to type in for their particular project? How do they even find something and get started? And I think it was amazing to them to find out that sometimes you just need a couple words to be able to find out information that you're looking for on the computer. It doesn't have to be this really drudgery type of thing, that you can find things quickly and easily. Here's a really fun picture where we have our science teacher and our young student that loves everything to do about sharks. And so that he has difficulty with typing, but in this particular case, to keep him interested and keep him engaged, the science teacher said, well, here, I'm going to help you find some pictures of sharks. And so you see him, you can probably see him pointing. He just loved this picture of Jaws with the shark. So that was the one he definitely wanted in his board. But again, he was able to choose the pictures that he wanted on his board. So now we're going to talk about the Chromebooks a little bit. So the Chromebooks, as I said, are just a type of laptop, and we were very fortunate to be able to get these through a grant. So here's one of the beginning things with this young lady, to even be able to turn on and off a computer. That's a skill in itself, to be able to find the right button, the right key, to be able to turn something on and off. Now you'll be able to see in this where we have many of our Chromebooks set up, and we decided to do it as a group idea, as a group project. So you see that all of the students have their Chromebooks in front of them, and they're all ready to, with varying degrees of help, be able to start searching for some information on the computer. And this was really fun. We didn't really think at first that we'd be able to do all of the students at one time, but we certainly did, and they did a great job. The other thing is that students that were more savvy on the computer sat next to other students that weren't quite as savvy yet and helped them out. So that was a lot of fun too, and a learning experience for all of us. I mentioned about the big letter keyboards as an assistive device. And we've actually used these quite a bit. They're really nice for those of you who haven't seen them or used them. They're not expensive at all. You know, they range from maybe $20 to $30. And a little bit later, we'll talk about, you know, a couple places that you could just order them online. But you can see that the size of the key is bigger and that the lettering is bigger. And that often is a very big help. In this one, it has the yellow against the black, and you can see that, again, that the letters are larger, the numbers are larger, and so students that may have difficulty with actually pushing keys or finding keys, this would be something to really consider for an adaptation. Another thing that we were really proud about was the collaboration with the staff. And I think I mentioned that we have, you know, retired occupational therapist and science teacher and special education teacher. Well, our retired speech therapist, pathologist, was very excited about the project because, of course, she could see all of the verbal skills that were going to be needed. But then she was also excited that she would have the opportunity to try out different communication devices. And so here's one of the ones that she tried out. And so, you know, a couple of our students that have difficulty with verbalizing, she programmed in the different presentation or the two presentations for these students. And so they were able to present right along with everybody else by using a communication device. And I just love the idea of all of us working together for the students. Okay, so now we've got community interaction. And you're probably wondering, well, what could that possibly have to do and why did we even care? Well, community interaction is really important with the students that we serve. And it's important for them to know how to find a source of help and also for that source of help to know a little bit more about them. So of course, they're going to have to be able to improve verbal and social skills because we're going to have speakers coming in. So invited speakers included public safety, fire safety, financial, the Red Cross, water safety, which included beach patrol, and the weather person with talking about hurricanes and tornadoes. And you can probably see that we really tried to coordinate these speakers, which the students really wanted to do, to come into the classroom. And again, depending on whatever setting you're in, for instance, I know that there's a lot of teachers that have students with special needs. And what a wonderful thing it would be if we, as the helpers, as the therapists, as the special education people, could help bring in some of these people, not just for our student with special needs, but for the entire class that they're working with. So this police person came in and she had this wonderful chance to meet us and us to meet her and talk about safety things. Well, what if you're out at a gathering or a mall or something? Who can you look to for help? I know I talk about some of my most favorite things, but this has got to be one of the coolest things ever, where we were able to contact the local fire rescue squad, and 3 of the fellows came in. They had never been to our center before. They didn't even know that a center existed with students with special needs. They came and they were just so nice to our students. And you can probably see by some of the hand raising that they had tons of questions for them. The young man that in particular was interested in fire safety was just so proud and pleased that these fire safety guys came in. And you can see that even the guy in the middle wore his special gear. And part of it was, you know, to show the students that if you see someone like that, you don't have to be afraid, you know, that these are people that are there to help you. We were also really lucky to find at a local college that there were pharmacy students. And again, thinking about how you might help the teachers that you're working with. Well, different colleges, you know, have these different programs, and this one in particular is pharmacy students. And one of their goals was actually an outreach. One of the things that they had to do before they graduated was to have an outreach. And it turned out that they contacted our facility and we said, this is perfect timing. We'd be delighted to have you come and talk to our students. So again, the idea that pharmacy could be helpful to the students, and look at the opportunity for these young students to be able to interact with us. Okay, so now we have practicing in front of a class. And let me just see, I don't know whether I can digress for just a second. We may have to answer, I've got a couple raised hands. I think I may have to address those at the end. I hope that's okay with everybody. Okay, but please hold on to your questions. Okay, the next thing, practicing in front of the class. Okay, so for a lot of you, you'll probably be thinking, practicing in front of a class, I wonder what that could possibly do for my students or their, clients that I'm working with. Well, just think about yourself when you're going to have to do something in front of a group of people. You're going to definitely have to organize your thoughts. Going to have to practice presentation skills, verbal skills. And I think I mentioned to you how delighted the speech therapist was that they were going to have this opportunity to practice verbal skills. Well, fine motor. Oh my gosh, just being able to point things out on a board. Directionality. I mean, think of yourselves whenever you've given a presentation to go from right to left to up and down. And our students have really, a lot of them never had the opportunity to do this in classrooms. Standing in front of a group. Oh my gosh, how many of us still have some trouble standing in front of a group? It's just one of those kinds of things that's tough for a lot of people, but it's good for us and definitely good for the students, the clients that we work with. Eye contact. A lot of people are okay with being in front of a group and reading something right in front of them, but what about when you have to then turn from that paper and look at people? And one of the things that our clients, or several of our clients, have difficulty with, and that's eye contact, being able to actually look at the people that they're speaking to. Students learned about the various safety topics listening to presentations. So as part of our efforts in having the students talk to each other, each student had to take their poster and talk to all of us in class. And the students learned about the various safety topics. So not just learning about their own particular topic that they were interested in, but learning about the different types of safety things from their classmates. And that was very interesting and really very joyful to us too. So here we are at practicing. And you can see this young lady who loves holiday safety. She has her board there. And think about the things that she's going to have to do. And again, also think about this in a smaller scale. If you don't have the place to do it, you could do it much smaller. But if you think about the skills that the students are getting from this, so she's pointing to the board, she's looking at what she's going to have to be talking about, but then she's also going to have to be explaining to us what she's explaining to us about her holiday safety. And she really wanted us to know about candles. And it was really cool how they were trying so hard to get their classmates to be more safe too. And about be sure you turn off your lights when you leave the house, when you've got those Christmas lights on. So a lot of really, really cool interaction. In this one, this is the young man whose family had been in a traffic accident. And so you can tell that he was really interested in driving hazards. And one of the things that really keyed into us too, and talking about how they could be helpful to their families, was texting and driving. And he became, which is really right, he became very concerned about texting and driving and being careful to keep your eyes on the road. This young lady who I mentioned was so excited about boating and swimming safety. she has a difficult time looking at people. She has a difficult time with verbal skills. But this presentation and the fact that she wanted to share this information so badly with her fellows, she went ahead and looked from the board to us and went from right to left and up and down. I thought was really wonderful. Okay, so now it finally became time for the big night. Okay, so we're going to have this big presentation, and who are we going to invite? Okay, well, they wanted to invite parents and friends, of course, special guests, and the special guests were going to include, the police person, the fire rescue squad, different people like that. So they were pretty excited about who was going to come to their big event. So finally, the night of the big event came. And you can see, and I'm going to mention a little bit more about this later, but we were able to do this in September, January 29th, and this was before the days of COVID. So as you can see here, people were then more than excited to come and be part of it. And one thing I thought was really neat was that all of the parents took time to go to each of the students' posters and ask questions. And so they wanted to find out from all the different classmates what they had learned. And they really took time to do that. This is one of the pictures that's very endearing to me. And this big, tough rescue person went ahead and spent such a nice long time with this young lady who wanted to tell him everything possible about safety with food, and about making sure that he knew that when he was with his family gatherings, that he needed to be safe too. This is another one of the fire rescue people that came that evening. And I'm going to highlight this just a little bit because, we talked about different benefits that come about when we work with our clients and we, do these extra efforts to include community people. But the fact that these fire rescue guys would come on an evening, their own, come with their fire truck, rescue truck, just in case they would have to be out on call. But not only did the three fellows come that were there at, in initial classroom presentation, but they came this evening and brought the rest of their crew. And I just thought that was wonderful. So now we've forged this bond with the local rescue guys and vice versa. Well, of course, anytime you have a gathering, you have to have some food. And our students love food, and they all wanted to bring in treats for their guests. So at the very end of the presentation, at the safety fair, we went ahead and printed out these certificates. And again, being in the school system for so long, it just kind of brought back some happy memories of, putting together little therapy certificates for the students that it worked with. And I thought, well, I'll just kind of share this idea with you that every so often during the year, I'd print out little certificates and I'd, award them. I'd give them out to the students that I'd work with. And you would have thought that something as simple like this wouldn't mean much, but it really does. It says that they've achieved something. And even with the little therapy certificates that you just find on the internet, you just print off, the students are really proud, and their parents really, their caregivers also appreciate the fact that they've been recognized. So what did the students learn from the safety fair? Well, they certainly learned about safety, and they learned about just a whole bunch of things that they probably wouldn't have thought of before. Planning, Oh my goodness, you can imagine the planning that they had to do. And the idea that they could themselves put something together that they had planned using computers and assistive devices. And you had a chance to see the big letter keyboards. But again, you know, you have students that probably have a difficult time just turning on and off to a computer, all the way to, like, you know, a lot of our students were able to look up things for other people. But you always can learn another computer skill, presentation skills, being able to present an idea, being able to discuss something. And even though it may not be a full-blown presentation, just being able to explain something to a caregiver, to a family member, to another student. Social skills, communicating and working together. And you had a chance to see the different slides where people were working together. And again, that's another benefit that sometimes you kind of don't think about, the idea that you can work together. Fine motor skills. Oh my goodness, the cutting and the pasting and the directionality, all such wonderful fine motor skills used. Parent involvement. I just have always loved it when parents were able to be involved and caregivers involved. And one way that we did this was we provided regular notices of the project. So different things that we were doing. So you notice the next one helped with topic selection. And so, you know, a note went home and said, well, we were going to be doing the safety fair. And, you know, here's the topic that your student chose. What, you know, talk it over with them and what do you think? Helping and finding and printing pictures. I've referred back to the student, you know, that was so excited about the sharks. Well, the parent, you know, told me later that that was one of the most fun things they had done for quite a while, was look for those shark pictures and print them out and be able to, you know, send them into school. Help practicing at home. So again, the students were very involved with their parents because they had to practice at home too. Another nice thing was that the parents attended the safety fair. So that gave the parents a chance to come and see things that the students were working on. And a lot of parents had told us that they learned about safety too. And so one of the funny things that I think about is one of the parents who had listened to the young lady who talked about, you know, boating and swimming safety and all that. And where we had the beach patrol come in, said, I never knew that those different colored flags on the beach meant something in particular. And I don't know, just kind of a funny example to think that, yes, all the parents, you know, were excited that they had learned things too. In conclusion, let's talk about that. So the project was very successful. Everybody had a really good time. The students found it fun and educational. Students learned about safety and became more safety conscious. Technology skills were improved. They gained community recognition and involvement. So like you had a chance to see that now we've got other groups in the community that know about us and know hopefully a little bit more about students, people with special needs, and that perhaps they'll be able to interact with them easier. Good support from the parents. Increased collaboration between students. And again, I just love it when students can help each other. Increased collaboration between staff and the fact that all of us were trying really hard to help each other and, you know, our different strengths and weaknesses. And also learned a lot more about communication devices too. All right, so here's the part about questions, and I'm going to go hopefully to the question area here and see if I can get a couple of questions. Okay, one is, can you tell us a little more about students helping students? Yes, and as you know, that's one of my favorite things where students that are more able, we're able to help students that not quite as able, for instance, on the computer. But even the part about that the students were able to feel comfortable with each other helping, that was really great. Another question I have is, do you think the students will use the safety information? Definitely. And thinking about, what the parents had to say about what they had learned. But, the students, for instance, who, the one student, I go back to holiday safety, she was really adamant, about us all turning off different lights in the house and things when we're going to be away from it. And another thing that popped in my mind just now is the medication safety too, is that the students, I think all of the students are going to be more aware of medication safety. And I think that will be wonderful for them to be able to really key into that. And that fire safety, a lot of us, I think, kind of forget things sometimes about fire safety. But now with this, you can bet that that student is really informing his family about fire safety. But then also there's going to be times through the year where he'll be reminding us. And so I think that's really wonderful. I'm going to go on to, let's see. Okay. I had a couple of thoughts, and it looks like we have just a few more minutes. But I wanted to talk to you about, we had done this, before the pandemic. We were able to do it in January. And we're hoping to reopen our center in September with, different safety protocols like social distancing and wearing masks and temperature checks. But we're also looking at what can we offer, how we can do our classes through Zoom. In thinking through this presentation, I was already trying to put together thoughts in my brain about the students that, don't feel comfortable coming back to class, and us setting up, hopefully, this idea about Zoom classroom that perhaps, and I'm thinking like different times of the year, the October, the Halloween safety, and of course, that's also Fire Safety Month. But the idea that perhaps maybe the students could use the Zoom platform and remind us, teach us again about different safety things would be kind of fun for us, but then also a wonderful way for us to get to use a Zoom platform. And again, that's another whole skill. So right now we have, done Zoom calls, but we've only done it, as kind of a friendship type of thing, every other Friday. But now we're really looking at how can we use Zoom and be able to, use it as a really great teaching device. And I think even the Zoom webinar today has given me hopefully some different skills too that I can transfer it back to our students. I'm looking here to see if there's any other questions in the little question box here. I don't see any other ones, but again, thank you so much for being part of the webinar today. And I hope that you will take some of these ideas away with you. And again, the different presentations I've done are archived, and they all begin basically with, fun activities. And so thank you so much. Oh, I think I have maybe another raised hand. Let me see if I can do that with question and answer box. Let's see, Deb, I'm not able to see that raised hand.
If there are any questions, they'll need to enter them into the question and answer box.
Okay, so I'm learning a new skill here too, that at the top of your screen where it has participants and different things, there's a little box that says question and answer. And so if you do have, we're just about out of time, but if you have any other question, please type it in there. And I'm going to look real quick here. Okay, I don't see another one there. Okay. Well, thank you to all of you, and thank you to AbleNet for allowing me to do this present. Oh, I think one might have just popped up. Let me just try real quick. Oh, um, she asked, could you post the objectives again? And Deb, you'll have to help me with this one, but I think
That slide is actually in the presentation handout, so they should be able to access that through the handout.
okay, great. And again, this will be archived, so you'll be able to see it there too. Okay, well, I think we are out of time, but thank you so much to AbleNet, and thank you to all of you for being part of this presentation. I really have appreciated it.